Hey, what's up to all my Aquarians out there? So please make sure to get this book at Amazon.com. The link will be in the description box below as usual. If you'd like to contact me for a personal reading, my email address as well as the prices are in the description box below. So the first couple of cards that I came up with are the Eight of Wands, the Devil, the Four of Swords, the Magician, and then you have the Two of Pentacles. So what's going on here is that, obviously the Devil card, or the Devil card is an indicator of how it is that they're I'll say the Devil and the Four of Swords, right, and even the Magician, these three middle cards, well, really the whole top row, because the Eight of Wands represents communication as well, right? Fire to air. So what's happening here is that there's a fireside chat, right, or heated discussion between you and between someone who is trying to gain your trust, essentially, right? A new friend, right, or an old friend, and more so new, because I don't get any indications that they're old. But you Aquarians aren't necessarily trying to hear it, because you Aquarians are more looking at certain things from the perspective of you really being more selective about who it is that you decide to have around you, because you realize that certain individuals and stuff like this, can't be trusted, and you had to figure that out the hard way. So because you had to figure that out the hard way, you Aquarians are like, okay, now that I understand that, I'm not going to go ahead and budge on that, because you got fake individuals out here who just want to be cool with you just so that they can get something from you specifically, because you're nothing but another spoke on the wheel. Shout outs to our set for that. But you're nothing but another spoke on this wheel, you're nothing but a different aspect of these wheels that turn, but ultimately I'm not a living being to you. You know what I mean? And see, that's another thing too that I also wanted to talk about. Let's get to it. So what happens here is, the Two of Pentacles, right, is about how it is that you Aquarians are like, nah, I don't see why it is that I should let you in though. Why should I let you in my business? Because you're starting to become known for starting your own business, and you may have and it's starting to take off a little bit. So you may have individuals that see you doing your thing, but at the same time they may end up wanting in. And you Aquarians is like, well, I don't really necessarily know what purpose do you serve, especially if I haven't taken the time to get to know you. You're basically asking me to come through and get a job, but how do I know? My business is just now starting up. How do I know that you won't come aboard and sabotage it? So what happens here is that the next two cards that I come up with is the Tower and the Death. Now both of these represent Scorpio, the Tower and the Death, or vice versa. So what's happening here is that obviously it doesn't mean sex. It means huge transformations with you Aquarians, because you went from being the zodiac signs that represent friends, which is Aquarius, to now being in a situation where you Aquarians, it's about being more selective with those friends. So not only is it about friends, but it's also about, looking at things from a more Saturnian, Capricornian perspective, because don't forget, Capricorn and Aquarius both share planet first. Then it's Uranus later. The classical ruler, or the classical co-ruler, the classical ruler of Aquarius is Saturn, before it broke off, and then it was ruled by Saturn and Uranus. If anybody tells you differently, they bugging. It was Saturn first, and then Uranus later, and they both ruled as zodiac sign, because there's some aspects about Aquarius that are Saturnian, and then there's some aspects that are Uranian and unpredictable. Now, with that being said, you Aquarians are more so pulling from the Saturnian aspect, where it's of use, right? Where it's okay, how can I use you? And I'm not talking about abuse you per se, but what usefulness do you have to me, type of thing. And the situation that's going on here is that you Aquarians don't necessarily see that. So then you have the three cards that are there, which is the Page of Wands, the Ten of Swords, and then you have the World card. So these cards are basically about how it is that you're like, nah, I'm not really messing with it. So you go ahead and, because you're thinking to yourselves, I really have learned my lesson, and this person is, I can't necessarily, like, every person who I meet can't necessarily be trusted. So I need to really keep that in mind. And you Aquarians do keep that in mind. And what's going on here is that you may end up not even giving them a chance and just bouncing and just never really calling them back, because you really want to end up taking the time to get to know them usually, but the way that they step to you is crazy. Or you Aquarians may communicate that to them. Wait, hold on, let me take the time to get to know you first as a friend before I decide to make a move on anything. So it's just real crazy. But I'm glad that you Aquarians learned your lesson. Aquarians do kind of suffer from that ownership that people mistakenly think or perceive that they have. I know this for a fact because I have Aquarius in my chart, and like a lot of the times, Aquarian people, they value their freedom, right, over everything. They value their freedom, right? And as a result of this, because they feel like they perceive that everything else comes from their freedom, which to a certain degree it does. But like the thing is that with Aquarians though, is that it's odd because Aquarians value their freedom, and what people try to snake, con, trick, lie Aquarians out of is their freedom, because they want to put them in a box to become like an inanimate object. So it's just real crazy, you know what I'm saying? And I have Saturn and Aquarius in my 12th house, so I know how that feels, Aquarius. That's pretty much it. Comment on the video, like the video, subscribe. Peace.